They may be called the next generation, but they're the church of today. Reach, disciple, and mobilize students to share the hope of the gospel. This is Next Gen on Mission with Shane Pruitt and Paul Wooster.
Hey friends, welcome to another episode of the Next Gen on Mission podcast. My name is Shane Pruitt. I'm the National Next Gen Director for the North American Mission Board, and always with me is my co-host, my brother, my kindred spirit, all right, Paul Wooster, our National Collegiate Director for the North American Mission Board. Paul, what's up, man?
What's going on, man? Hey, how's it going, bro? I'm having a good time this summer. I actually got to do a little bit more surfing than normal, so my fitness is better. And you've been doing a lot of running lately. How you doing on that, man?
Oh, it's been good, man. Yeah, a lot of running. Definitely enjoy that. I never thought I would say that, but I started running during shelter in place over a year ago and just kept it going. And definitely enjoy that. And I noticed that surfboard's not in the background,
Yeah.
I think, we used to joke, that surfboard had seen more Zoom calls than waves, so it's good to see that it's out on some waves.
Exactly, man. So I used to be into running, but man, I've decided if I can do something a little more active, still get that cardio going, that's a win for me, for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, hey, Paul, I'm so excited about our guest today. Our guest today is, he's brilliant, high capacity leader, but I also love it. He's just a normal guy. He's a man's man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is a guy that he probably eats a lot of steak and, probably kills his own meals. Like, Paul, you live in California. Are y'all still allowed to eat meat out there?
Yeah. There's definitely a trend of veganism and all that stuff. And we even tried it for a while, and I just got grumpy. So, I'm not into that.
Well, awesome, Paul. Well, hey, I know we're so excited about our guest today as we talk about Gen Z and reaching the nations. So today our guest is none other than the great Dr. Paul Chitwood. He is serving as president of the IMB, which is the International Mission Board. But before that, he was an executive director for the Kentucky Baptist Convention and has just been in ministry a long time. He is a follower of Jesus, a husband, a father, author. I mean, I'll tell you what, God has just used him in so many ways, but he's also one of the most kind, humble, genuine guys I know. And so we're so excited to have a friend of ours, Dr. Paul Chitwood, on the Next Gen on Mission podcast. So Dr. Chitwood, welcome to the Next Gen on Mission podcast.
Hey, thank you, Shane. Thank you, Paul, for having me on today. You're a little too generous in that introduction, but I'll take it. I appreciate it very much. And thankful for you guys. Thankful for all that you're doing to serve churches, to help connect the next generation to mission work and sharing the good news here at home as around the world. It's a blessing to, just from my vantage point, to see guys like you who are just making really strong connections and helping everyone get involved in the mission that God has for them, which is ultimately why we're here, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Dr. Chitwood. That means everything coming from you. Paul and I deeply respect you and the work of our sister organization, the IMB. So thank you so much for saying that. To God be the glory. Well, Dr. Chitwood, before we get too spiritual, would you tell us one fun fact about you that we need to know that we may not already know?
Fun facts about me, you need to know that I do kill a lot of my own meat.
Wow. Yeah.
There you go.
Amen.
Been hunting. I love to bow hunt.
Yep.
Hunting since I was a kid. It's kind of a tradition in our family. And had the opportunity just over the course of the summer to be on a trip with my son, a little hunting venture. And that's kind of apart from ministry and family, that's the next passion in my life.
Yeah, I love it. And Dr. Chitwood, I want to say that the bumper video you made for the Send conference was one of the funniest things I've seen in a long time. And we always love that, you can roast up Kevin a little bit, Nam with the swag. And that was a great video. Thank you
that
for
was so
doing
much
that.
fun to do. I didn't think Nam would show that. I didn't think the board would show it, that it was for Kevin's 10th anniversary. But I was so glad that they did. In fact, he's enjoying it. It's so hard. Kevin's always getting one over on us, right?
Oh,
it's
sure. Oh, yes.
On him. So I was so proud that I was able to do that, and that we should. In fact, I was in Louisiana last week with the director of missions there, who's a big NAM fan and really strongly connected the organization as is his churches. And that was one of the things he brought up. He said, "Oh man, that was so awesome." He had a NAM cup, and he said, "When you showed the cups and the shirts and the hats and swag, it was just perfect."
Yeah, it was great. I loved it. Yeah.
One thing that NAM does have is swag. That's for sure. Hey, we're so grateful for you to have you, Dr. Chitwood. And so the first question that we have listed out here is, what do we need to know about Generation Z?
Obviously there's a lot of things that are easy to observe, but some things not so easy to observe. One of the things that we've seen is Gen Z is a global generation.
Yeah.
The internet and not just social media, but media, it's brought the world to us in a way that we never had access to in the past. This generation has been raised with access to the world. And certainly that's made an impact on how they think, how they see the world, their worldview, if you will. And so to know not only is there a global generation, but they're a generation that wants to be involved in helping others. And this is really one of the huge on-ramps for us at the IMB and for missions organizations like NAM and others. If we can find practical ways to involve them in serving others, then the mission becomes so appealing to them. Concerned, those who are believers, certainly concerned about the gospel, but our observation is a both and for this generation. They want to be hands-on. They want to serve in practical ways. And then, of course, that gives the opportunity of genuine relationships to share the good news. So those are some of the most obvious things. We did a study this past year with Barna Research on Gen Z, next generation. How do we ensure that we're serving them well when it comes to Great Commission work and those on-ramps? And one of the things another thing that we observed is when you give them the opportunity to experience it firsthand, it transforms their lives, transforms their thinking. They're like 4 times more likely, if they've been on a mission trip, to ultimately be a missionary, to pray for missionaries, if they know personally, have a relationship with a missionary. So it's very experiential, and that's something they value. Authenticity, obviously lots been said, written about that. They can sniff a lack of authenticity from a million miles away. And so it has to be real.
Yeah, that's good.
Yes, that is so good. And Dr. Chitwood, we love how fired up you are about knowing Jesus and making him known. And as now the leader of one of the biggest missions organizations in the world now, how do you get to that point? Can you share a little bit of your story and kind of what God's done to kind of bring you to this very strategic kingdom role?
Well, it's by God's grace completely, as it would be true of any of us, right? And certainly, I'm an example of that. Was raised by my father for most of my years growing up. My mother left when I was 2, and had a younger brother who was 1, older brother who was 4, and Dad had custody of us and was raising us. We, by the Lord's kindness, had a knock on our door one night when I was probably 4 or 5 years old, and there were a couple of laymen from a little Baptist church in the mountain town where we were living, and they were out knocking on doors, inviting people to church, and they made it up to a little rental house where we lived, and I knocked on the door, invited Dad to come to church. And thankfully, he took them up on that, and we began to go. We found just a small church family, 75 to 100, depending on how things were going, but warm and welcoming, and loved us. And really, looking back on it, kind of helped raise us, helped our family to heal. And fast forward a few years, and our pastor knocked on that same door, sat down in our living room, shared the gospel with my older brother who had questions about Jesus, and my younger brother and I were sitting on the floor listening in, and all 3 of us that night prayed, putting our trust in Christ, and were baptized together a few weeks later in the little First Baptist Church of Jellicoe, Tennessee. Fast forward from there, and I was actually a freshman in college when I felt the Lord calling me into ministry. and didn't know what that would look like, but answered the call. And I guess in my second year of seminary, I just married my wife, Michelle, and my pastor had given me some advice. He said, as valuable as your seminary experience will be some ministry experience while you're in seminary. And so I began to look for opportunities and to serve, and had a little church invite me, little rural church, seminary pastor invite me to come and serve as their pastor. And it was in about the first year that the Lord really confirmed, for this season of my life, this is what He's called me to do. This is what I'm to give my life to. And I spent 18 years pastoring. My connection with the IMB came during my time pastoring. I was able to serve as a trustee on the International Mission Board of Trustees, and was just such a unique experience, such an educational experience, seeing the world from the vantage point of a mission organization like this, and what God was doing all around the world. Seeing those missionaries answer the call, Lord, captured my heart. Joe and I, really struggled through. Is God calling us to go? And we, through a process of prayer and seeking, I got the confirmation, no, He wasn't calling us to go, but He was calling us to be a part of sending others, supporting others, mobilizing others. And so we got very involved from that point on in mission work overseas, sending volunteer teams, calling out the called in my pastoral ministry, as well as in the seminary classroom where I was teaching. The Lord used all of those experiences, concern for the mission, to move me to state mission work, and then ultimately to the IMB. But I guess to wrap up my story and how you get from where I was to where I am today, those two Baptist laymen, when they knocked on the door of a little rental house with a single dad in his 20s raising 3 kids on his own, they had no way to know that the future IMB president was somewhere in there in the floor as a 4-year-old, but God knew. And so again, it's all of the Lord. It's all of grace. I shouldn't be alive, but the Lord lets me do what I do, and it's an incredible privilege.
I love, and somehow I've missed that part of your testimony before, is that Tuesday night, or that visitation by 2 laymen, because that's exactly how my family was reached with the gospel. Was a pastor of the local church down the road and a deacon. Tuesday night visitation came and knocked on our door, and both my mom and dad surrendered to Jesus right there in the living room of the house. And I was in the room, and I didn't really understand what was going on, but 5 years later, it'd become a reality for me. But that's exactly how our family was reached, was by that, for us, that Tuesday night visitation. Well, Dr. Chitwood, we love the International Mission Board and the IMB, and we love the IMB students. And Paul and I have a relationship with those on the IMB students team, and we're so thankful for that partnership and just ever growing in that partnership. So share with us some exciting things that the IMB are seeing right now in reaching and mobilizing the next generation.
Well, one of the things that has been a little surprising as well as exciting is the fact that we've still been able to get student missionaries as well as career missionaries out during the midst of a pandemic. So since the pandemic started, we've sent over 500 out. And many of them have been a Journeyman Program that we might get around to talk to a little bit. For those who are wrapping up some schooling or taking a break from schooling. But we've also had some semester missionaries that have been out, or 1-year student commitments. And so to be able to see this continue to go when there's so many challenges that are created, overseas travel and even getting people prepared to go overseas, has been frankly surprising and blessing. So that's the main thing that I would say is we're excited that we still have a lot of students going out. We've got a ton teed up for this fall and a lot of things online for next summer, including our Go Impact program. We're bringing back to school student missions.
Oh, great.
Of course, of the summer, where we have several teams already lined up to have a mission experience, a week, 2 weeks overseas, alongside of our career missionaries, high school students going, as well as, obviously college students, seminary students, And to circle back to something I said a moment ago, what we've seen is they want to go. They're anxious.
Yeah,
They've already got
definitely.
this mindset. They want to be involved hands-on.
Right.
And so I think the future's bright.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Paul and I feel the same way. We understand that there's a lot of tough things going, but we also believe the Lord is using those tough things to really like empower a generation to go, you know what? I know my faith is going to cost me something, but I know Jesus is worth it, and going all in. So for those students that don't know Jesus, there seems to be more seekers because they realize the world around them is broken. But for the students that are followers of Jesus, we kind of joke, but it's true that they want more out of their faith than just attending worship services and going to a bunch of potluck dinners, right? Like they want to live on mission. They want to do it. They want to make an impact. In fact, I was on a call this morning with some BCM leaders, and one thing is said in there, and they all agreed, is that one thing we see with college students and high school students is they're really not scared to die young, but they're terrified of boredom. You know what I mean? And so like they want to go, they want to be used, they want to live for something bigger than themselves. So Dr. Chitwood, one of the things that you mentioned a while ago is the Journeyman Program, and we love that IMB does the Journeyman Program. So would you share a little bit more about the Journeyman Program and why a student should consider that once they graduate? Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm thrilled to get to do that. It's our go-to experience at the IMB, and it's a 2-year commitment for those who out of high school, whether they finished college and jump in at that point, associate's degree. It's really not an educational requirement. It used to be, you had to be a college graduate, but now there's not an educational requirement. It's just, are you ready? And is it the right time and what have you? So I think it runs up to age 29. So anyone who falls in that window, 18, 19 up to 29 is eligible. It's fully funded, which is huge because of generosity of Southern Baptist churches. Right. Giving through the park program, giving through the Lottie Christmas offering, we're able to send these students out fully funded, which is a really big deal. A student thinking about, well, how am I going to support myself 2 years as a missionary? Well, you don't have to, because the Lord, through generosity of the Baptist, will support you. Incredible experience, life-changing experience. You go and serve under supervision and alongside some of our career missionaries. You can serve many places all around the world, and it is the case that 40% of our career missionaries have been journeyman missionaries.
Wow.
You talk about a team. You're talking about a funnel to get people to the nations. This journeyman experience has been huge for us as an organization. Again, been going for decades. Still is. We've ramped it up. We've added more funding to it because we see the opportunity with this generation. And listen, what you said just a moment ago, Shane, is so true. Not afraid to die, but don't let me die in boredom. That type thing. So my wife and I had the opportunity to visit with some of our journeymen in the Persian Gulf this summer, who had been working in a Muslim country and working in prison in a Muslim country, to women and their children. In this particular country, if a woman goes to prison and she has a child under the age of 6, her children go with her.
Wow.
And so we had 3 ladies who were working in that prison, and one was a journeyman, one was a nurse, one was a school teacher. So they started a little preschool for all these kids who are just hanging out, preschool, hanging out. Imagine it. Started a medical clinic for the kids, for the moms, and just serving them, loving them. And listen, not necessarily what we'd say a safe place to be, and yet they as they were finishing up their term and rolling out, they were weeping that they had to leave. They had seen God use them. They had built relationships with these ladies and seen Christ transform the lives of many of those inmates. And so that's just one. There's so many other things that you can do in the Journeyman Program, Sub-Saharan Africa, the Americas, trail guide in the Amazon. I mean, just some really cool and exciting stuff. European cities. It's the world is at your disposal, really, and it's a very exciting way to get involved. very young person.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yes, I'm so excited about the Journeyman program. And I find myself personally talking to students and funneling people towards it because I've never met someone that did the Journeyman program and regretted it. They never come away from a 2-year mission commitment and they're like, oh man, I just really wasted those 2 years. No, like God digs that foundation.
Right.
And actually it's a training experience because a pastor that I love said that your 20s are for training. And so I love that quote because them going on a mission experience, they have what I love about the IMB is you guys have experienced missionaries that are pouring into these journeymen, these younger people, and they're just getting they come back different. And so I love that about the Journeyman program. And one of the things on our heart, Shane and I's heart, is to see a mission mobilization movement across the nation. And so among our college ministries, our youth ministries, our churches, we're just praying. Actually, we're praying for another student volunteer movement. And we want to see just God do it again and see that happen. So what advice, thinking practically, would you give to a local college pastor or a student pastor or just a church pastor about mobilizing students towards God's heart for the nations?
Hands-on experience, hands-on experience, hands-on experience.
Yeah, I love it.
Opportunities to get out, to whether it's overseas or North American opportunities here in North America. Give them the opportunities to serve, to build relationships, to meet hurting and broken people, and there they'll find the value of their own life. There they'll find the joy that the Lord gives to those who learn to serve. There they'll find a deep and meaningful walk with Christ as they represent Him, their ambassadors. And obviously, from generation to generation, we think about things differently. We look at things to do. It's got to be a lot of flexibility. That's a given, I think, to those who are going to be engaging students. And a lot of these students come, with their own. I mean, we all have our own brokenness, but obviously, with the disarray in the family and our culture, that brokenness is sometimes deeper. In the rising generation, and just to approach that with a sense of mission, that this is a part of God taking this young person on their own journey, as well as who they'll help in the journey. And again, it's those hands-on experiences and building relationships, and that's why we're prioritizing this as you guys wanting to see a mobilization movement. That means we're getting them involved.
Yeah, love that.
That's great. And thinking bigger picture with the IMB and the mission movement that we're seeing through it, what are some things that you're praying towards, and what's your vision for the upcoming years for IMB?
Yeah. We have really sensed God leading us to be focused in our work in some very specific ways. One, we want to see the IMB growing again. The IMB has gone through a season of downsizing, and we've turned a corner on that. We're beginning to grow again, and knowing the needs of the world. I mean, there are more lost people in the world today than ever before in history, right? Every single day, 155,473 people die lost in the world. 155,473. How could we be shrinking at a time like that? How could we be backing off and pulling back at a time like this? We're pushing forward. We have a goal of adding 500 more missionaries to the field, including those journeymen and the younger folk, midterm missionaries over the next 5 years. We also have a goal of diversifying our teams. We work with churches and sending agencies literally around the world. There's 140 Baptist conventions and unions around the world, overseas, that are a result of the investment that Southern Baptists have made over now 176 years. And so we have a goal of adding 500 missionaries from our overseas partners
Love
to
that.
our teams.
Yeah.
So to have the opportunity, if you go as an IMB missionary, to serve on a team with a Baptist brother or sister from Cuba, who is on your team, who is your teammate, who has come out from the Cuban Baptist Convention or the Brazilian Baptist Convention, or one of the Filipino Baptist conventions or associations. And so we're creating really an international team to reach the nations. And that's one, it models heaven. Two, it gives us greater inroads, because the more diverse our teams are, the more access, literally, we get to people groups around the world. And it also gives us opportunity, those who are on our teams, to experience here's what it looks like to be in a multicultural, multi-ethnic team, and to learn from those who have a much different background and experience than I've had.
Wow. Yeah, I love that. Dr. Chitwood, thank you so much. And I love, you just have a unique ability and gifting to take and talk about really complex things in such a practical, easy way to understand. So thank you so much for that. It's so helpful.
I can understand them, Shane. So.
Yeah, that's why I want to say maybe just because I have to have things very simple for it, for the light bulb to go off for me. So thank you for doing that. If for anybody, thank you for doing that for me.
Shane and I need it really dumbed down.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I know all of that. In all seriousness, thank you, Dr. Chitwood, and we always really close our conversations on the Next Gen on Mission podcast with really the same on mission charge, that the heart behind this podcast is that the next generation would realize they are the now generation, not just the future of the church, but the church right now, that they have a calling of God on their life now, that they have a mission they're called to now. So would you give us one closing thought on that, one practical next step? Yeah.
So here's a picture of heaven as it will be. Revelation 7, 9, and 10. John saw heaven, not as it is today, but as it will be. He said, I looked and behold, a great multitude, no one can number, from every nation, all tribes and peoples and languages, standing before the throne and before the Lamb. That is the vision that this generation's stewards.
Yeah,
so
wow.
This generation to fulfill the vision, to ensure that every nation and all tribes and peoples and languages are represented around the throne. However God would use any of us, and it's true of the now generation as well, praying for the lost, praying for those who are on mission, and being generous with what God has entrusted to us, our lives, our resources, helping others go, and going ourselves. The vision, we're stewards of that vision, and we've got work to do.
I love it. That's great.
That's amazing. That's enough to give your whole life to, and then some. And I think that's it. If we continue to cast that vision to young people, they're going to step up, and God's Spirit is going to motivate them and call people to His mission. So thank you so much, Dr. Chitwood. How can people connect with you and your social media, and also the IMB?
The IMB uses different platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can find the IMB. You can find me on Twitter at Dr. Paul Chitwood is my Twitter handle, and I'd love to connect with anyone who will be willing to connect with us. And again, those IMB platforms are really on about all the social media platforms you could imagine. And anybody who's interested in exploring what it would look like to go to imb.org, click on Going, and begin to fill out an application there. And that doesn't commit you to anything. It just gives us opportunity to begin a conversation with you as you're exploring God's call in your life, as your pastor and church are working with you. We can walk alongside of you in that as well, and show you the opportunities that God might have for you to serve through the IMB.
Amen. Love it. And so, friends that are listening, I really encourage you to go check out the IMB's website. Also follow Dr. Chitwood on Twitter, and then engage with IMB and IMB students on all social media platforms. You're going to be encouraged by that, but you also never know what the Lord may do in your heart in sending you to the nations. So friends, thank you so much for listening today to the Next Gen on Mission podcast. If you have any questions whatsoever on reaching or mobilizing the next generation, please email us at evangelism@nam.net, and we'll try to address those on a future podcast. Also, if this podcast is a help to you and you're enjoying it, we want to encourage you, if you listen to it on Spotify, give it a follow. If you listen to it on Apple Podcasts or others, give it what Paul always says, give it a 5-star rating. Only 5-star ratings allowed.
Right.
Give it a 5-star rating, and share it with your friends and in your context. And more than anything, we pray that God would be glorified and that you are encouraged through this podcast. So thank you so much for engaging with us. We want you to have a great rest of your day and tell somebody about Jesus. Hey friends, Shane and Paul here with the Next Gen on Mission podcast. And listen, 2021 has been an incredible year of a lot of conversations with some awesome leaders. We hope you've enjoyed them, all centered on reaching, discipling, and mobilizing the next generation to be the now church. Not the future of the church, but the church right now. But we're going to take a little break for the holidays. So Paul, tell us about that.
Man, I'm excited about, I was always in Next Gen space. The Christmas break is a time often for us to rest, enjoy our families, but also to live on mission with our families, with our neighbors. We're always working with students and things like that. But sometimes, man, spending that extra time with our family that don't know Christ or our neighbors, looking for those opportunities to share our faith, that's always a huge opportunity. And also, we encourage you to go back and listen to the past episodes and get caught up. We have a ton of guests in the archives of the Next Gen on Mission podcast. And then, man, I'm super pumped for this upcoming year of our podcast episodes we have coming up, but then also a bunch of other initiatives we got going on with GenSend.
Absolutely. Hey, 2022 is going to be even better. We got so many great conversations lined up. So we pray that you have a very Merry Christmas. Hey, catch up on some old episodes, share them with friends and family, and we will see you back January 10th with a brand new conversation.